Welcome to Green Ball. This is a new show I've got called Green Ball Spotlight. We're going to talk to people within the game and clubs around the country about what they're up to and successes they've had on the field and off the field on the training pitch. Today, we're going to start with Stephen McCartney from Coleraine Cricket Club. Welcome, Stephen.
Hey Craig, thanks for having us on and appreciate having the opportunity to showcase what we've been doing in Coleraine.
So Colerane's got a long history dating back to 1853, I believe. But can you tell us a bit about the club and some of the players that have come through?
Yeah, as you say, it's got a long history, and going back years. They didn't actually join the Northwest Cricket Union and play in the Northwest until 1973. Before that, and sort of the post-war years, they've been playing in the Ballykelly Midweek League and the Limavady Midweek League, localised stuff. And through the years, obviously, we have loads of players that went through the club, the likes of past president Gavin Craig of the Irish Cricket Union, and obviously Roy Torrens as well. Whenever the Torrens connection came to live in the North Coast and set up with the guest houses, etc., and the Port Hotel, Roy came and played at the club for a couple of years, and the impact he had, it was plain to see, and everybody at the club, fantastic characters, everybody knows. And through the years as well, the likes of when we first won our first Northwest Senior Cup in 1986, Ricky Huey, a very astute captain and very forward thinking, really moved the club on, and that sort of golden period in the 80s when Northwest cricket was fiercely competitive. So that was quite an achievement for the club. As well, then just one of the other key factors was the new University of Ulster that set up in Coleraine in the 1970s, and that really sort of brought a different dynamic to the town, where we had a student population arrive, and as well with staff too, and some of them, we had some really good cricketers from the university staff. Dave Eastwood and Simon Gattrell were tutors, lecturers in the university, and came and played at the club and had a major impact again in that period in the 1980s. So as well, just going through, some of the overseas players we've had at Coleraine, that went on to play Test cricket. Mohammed Salman, the Pakistan wicketkeeper, again a major player in the resurgence of the club, and the period sort of 2008 when he arrived, and what came in the period after that by developing young players. Kieran Murray, 1985, the Indian Test wicketkeeper, and became an Indian selector and very, very highly thought of in Indian cricket. Was our first professional, and had a major impact in the club then. And just recently then in the last series between Sri Lanka and England, Roshin Silva was in the Sri Lanka squad, and you could just see what a fantastic player he was, a real standout player.
Okay. And what on-field successes has the club had over the years?
Yeah, just the major one, we went into Northwest cricket in 1973, and it was not until 1986 when we had sort of the first major success was that Northwest Senior Cup. A fantastic achievement. It was a group of players, because I was actually just looking at the photograph today before I come on here to see the players in that squad were highly skilled, and I'd say there was only two of the players in that team were actually under 25. So like Ricky Huey was the captain and led the team well. Phil Carson, an outstanding opening batsman and cover point fielder. Gavin Craig went on to represent Northwest as well. Then, because of people moving into Coleraine, we had Victor McDade and George McMichael from Limavady and Crundle. And as I say, George was a fantastic spin bowler, the ability to turn the ball both ways, and worked well with John Rowan, our wicketkeeper, and Robin Ward as well. And Victor McDade was a tearaway fast bowler, and Richard Hunter as well. So that team from 1986 was really a team that came together. They defeated Strabane in the two innings final, but it was the Donnamana game in the semi-final really was the standout. In those days it was 60 over matches, so it was quite a long haul, and it was unlimited bowlers. And I still remember that Coleraine bowled Donnamana out 7 runs short, and we'd only used 3 bowlers in the 50. We were going into the 59th over. So Ricky Huey, Victor McDade and George McMichael bowled the guts of 59 overs between them. And that was to defend the score of 124, I think it was. So, that's how tight it was. The game that ran on to the Monday night, and then we went on to play in the final against Strabane, and the guys came through, and it was great for us to win that title. And then the year after, we got the semi-final of the All-Ireland, got beat Brigade in again a really close game. A young Stephen Smith took over at the end of that game and put his mark and just that was him coming to the fore as a senior cricketer. And after that, we sort of went through a period of sort of, as I call it, a yo-yo period in the 90s for our club, where we dropped down into, as it was then, senior 2, and then back into senior 1. And we did that for a couple of years until we sort of found our feet again, and we came into a period in the early 2000s, and we started to really work in our youth again, and that was sort of a key time. Sort of I think the turning point was when it got to just into 2000, and we got relegated into senior 3. We'd never been there before, and that was the key then. And we had to say, look, we have to change things here. All clubs go in cycles, and we were exactly the same. So we invested a lot of time in youth. It got to 2008, and Mohammed Salman came, the Pakistani professional, and he really he got working with our young players, and that's when we had a real good crop of guys. Scott Campbell, who went on to play for Ireland under-19s in the World Cup, Rishi Chopra, Varun Chopra, Paul Douglas, Matthew Douglas, Stephen Hutchinson, Matthew Hutchinson. So we had a good crop of young players that came through exactly at the same time. The bizarre thing about the kids that I've just named there, they all lived within about a half-mile radius of each other. And there's one street in Coleraine, College Park, where Vishal Chopra, it was his sons Rishi and Varun, and they played cricket all year round. It was the first time I've ever seen kids out in November, December, out playing street cricket. They were so passionate about it. But that was it took that to get us going. In 2009, then our under-16 team won the Northwest Cup, where they defeated a good Donamana team as well. And that moved the boys on, and within 4 years it came to 2013 when we won our first Premier League title, and those guys all had become major players in the team. So we had a good mix of some players from outside: Gordon Cook, David Cook, Stephen Donnelly and McGregor, other established players that came to the club, and just the mix of bringing a good professional each year helped us. But those guys took us through, and then 2 years later we won the Premier League again in 2015. But it was because we had spent so much time with our young players.
Fantastic. And before we get into the club, you've mentioned a lot of rival clubs there. Does Coleraine have a natural local rival?
It used to be Limavady, who were a real force when Decker Curry was at the fore there, captain, a really strong Limavady side, fiercely competitive then, and then they've dropped off. So in recent years, in the last 6 or 7 years, probably looking at Donamana and Brigade, and I'd have to say Donamana because they are such fierce competitors. When you go to Donamana, it's such a tough place to win games of cricket. And they'd be our biggest challengers. I think we've actually managed to draw them, I think, 5 times in the semi-final of the Senior Cup and lose every one. And most times we were drawn away, so it wasn't a great draw to get. But again, tough competitors. And then recently with Brigade as well, when Roy had finished his roles with Cricket Ireland, I went to Brigade and took on the chair there. They really ramped things up again and asked more questions. So we had good battles down the years with both clubs, and as I say, we pushed each other on. Other clubs, Brady, Strabane as well, but I'd say Donovan and Brigade were the two that really pushed us the most.
Two tough competitive teams.
Yeah.
Onto the club itself. I mean, how many? You're obviously in youth development and youth coach, and how many coaches and volunteers are there at the club?
It's funny you say that because at the weekend there, just after in the COVID thing, we sort of a call out, and as a lot of clubs are doing at the minute, come down and tidy up get the grounds ready, etc. I don't think I've ever seen as many people put their hands up to come down and get involved. So that shows for everybody as we cricket at the minute, they're mad keen to get down to the club. I'd say just as a ballpark figure between our youth coaches and our other club volunteers, you're probably working around 20 key people there. The youth coaches, give a lot of their time, and that could be a couple of nights a week just working through the age groups. We've got teams at under 11s, under 13s, under 15s, and then obviously our senior cricket stuff as well. So there's a band of people there that are well led. We've a new committee in place for this season. And I think that was one of the key things with the new committee. We got more parents involved. It's something I'd probably put my hand up and say we didn't do as well before. And sometimes you just don't know clubs, what you have out there until you ask. And a couple of the mums got on board to do secretarial work and admin work, and absolutely have been fantastic. So stuff like that, we have key people in place now, a few different subcommittees working as well on finance and grounds, etc. So we've a good core of people working there under the chairmanship of Justin Block, who's been a real, just a breath of fresh air coming onto the club and give us real good structure going forward for the next 3 years. We've set up a new development plan for 3 years throughout the club, and there's some key themes in that.
And you've mentioned development, you've mentioned youth quite a few times there. Is that a particular focus for the club, youth
Yeah,
development?
it always has been, and it's sort of it's dipped in and out at the levels. But Coleraine, I'd say, be one of the few clubs that over a period of over 20 years has run quick cricket festivals. We always seen it as a key thing, trying to get cricket into primary schools. Craig, with the town of Coleraine itself, is quite a sort of a large enough town, but there's loads of sporting opportunities in it, especially football, rugby, GAA. Would be sort of key players there. So what we're always trying to do is offer as a summer alternative. So we do coach. We send coaches into the primary schools, usually run off about a 6 or an 8 week block, and then invite the children down to the club. And our current youth officer, Ali Hanforth, he'll hate me for saying this, was a quick cricketer and a tearaway quick cricketer back in the day, and now he runs our youth program, and as well captains the seconds. So stuff like that is a success story. And we concentrated quite a lot of the time in some of the schools in the housing estates in around Coleraine, Ballysally, Harpers Hill, Mulburn, Cologne, where a lot of the kids would be sort of local and within walking distance to the club, etc. So we quite a focus on that as well. Then we sort of changed slightly after working with the Northwest guys, Brian Allen and Davy Scanlon, the development officers. For years with our festivals, they're always quite competitive anyway. So they were mixed. They were called mixed festivals, but really what turned up was 6 boys, and every team had to play a couple of girls in the teams. So usually they filled in with a couple of girls, and they were just fill-ins. So what we decided was about 7 years ago to have our festivals then with girls only. So we had a boys festival and a girls festival, and that was really to develop the girls side of things.
And how is the female side of the cricket going?
Yeah, it's really that's built up over the years. I say we've started that 7 years ago. Up until this season, we didn't have a senior ladies team. We did a long time ago, and it petered out. So this year we've entered a senior ladies team along with an under 13 girls team and an under 18 girls team. And again, that's working quite closely with Catherine Ruff, the Northwest Development Officer. One of the key things, Craig, as well, we Coleraine is slightly different, and it's a multi-sport club. So we're attached to the rugby and the hockey club in Coleraine. So the sort of current crop of our under 13 girls at the minute is more or less the Coleraine hockey under 13 hockey team. And they've come through together, and they stay together during the summer and then sort of feed into the club that way. So what we try to do with the rugby as well is try to have boys that are playing rugby during the year to come to the cricket in the summer, and so you families around the club all year round.
Fantastic. And what I mean, you've said they're a multi-sport facility. What facilities are available to the club?
The club we have, so we have a clubhouse facility with a bar, which works well for the social side of things. And last year we had to just adapt and use marquees, obviously. So we have a clubhouse with bar and function room for all our functions, or sort of awards and fundraising, etc. And then we have our changing complex with our change rooms, and then included in that there's a gym for the senior players, and they can use that as well. Front of the club then we have our net facility with 2 bays, our playing pitch, and then our artificial wickets on that as well. And then, Craig, one thing that we tried last year and found it really worked, and I think there's loads of potential for it, is across the road we have our AstroTurf hockey pitch, and we played then a couple under 11 matches in that last year, and then we played a Northwest Warriors and under 13 girls match was played in that as well under floodlights. So again, we're just sort of trying to think outside the box and give children as much opportunity to play, and it worked out fine. The nights that those games were played in AstroTurf, those were nights that you wouldn't have played cricket in grass. It was soaking, you'd have been up to your ankles and dirt and mud, etc. So it made it a more enjoyable experience.
Fantastic. And are there any particular programs or activities, or indeed festivals, that you developed or run that you found particularly successful that might say translate to other clubs?
one of the best ones is obviously the quick cricket side of things to get kids interested in cricket, and I learned that at the time. I'd done a placement at Yorkshire Cricket School at Headingley, and basically I was looking at the model that they used, and they sent development coaches out to their primary schools. They put on demonstrations of quick cricket for boys and girls, and it was just more or less fun. Cricket can be fun. Getting invites then into the schools, and I think one of the key things and thing that we've done really well is we've good relationships with school teachers, and that's been key. And they really fed through children through the quick cricket program and invited them down to the club. And then more or less when we get to the club, it's up to us then to just take the lead that way. So the quick cricket festivals have been really good way to get young children involved in the club. One thing we're doing this year again, we felt with our under 15 program, there's we lost some kids, and I think part of the thing was some of them didn't want to commit to maybe longer forms of the game. So what we're doing this year is just an open day for anybody under 18, just to come back and get involved in cricket again. We've got the word out to them, there'll be opportunities in the club as well. They play T20 cricket, and I think that was the thing last year. This year we're going with 3 senior teams. Last year for a number of years we only 2. Because last year playing quite a bit of T20, everybody sort of seems to enjoy that form of the game. They turned up with their kit on because of the COVID stuff, played for 3 hours and went home again. So there's definitely a market for that. So if we can attract more young people back and be doing those under 18 open days, we're going to go with that. And then probably the other thing at the minute is we're forming more and more links with the hockey club for the female side of the game, and getting girls to come and stay in the club in the summertime and play cricket with their friends there.
So you've mentioned the format, you've mentioned female. I mean, are they the sort of growth opportunities for cricket in the Northwest, do you think?
I'd probably say at the minute there'd be 2 of the key areas. Definitely the female side of things. At the minute, the female game is there's a number of clubs that are playing female cricket and providing cricket opportunities for girls in it. And Catherine Ruff's been really good at pushing more opportunities. And I think we've more clubs entered this year than we've ever had in the senior league. There's a new development league for ones that are just starting into cricket in the Northwest. And then we've got our under 13 blitzes in league and our under 18s. For girls. So I think from a Northwest point of view, that's a key area. At the minute, we've some really talented girls and ladies playing the game. A couple of them been involved in some of the franchise stuff with Zara Craig and Alana Dalzell. Have done really well, and that's something for our other girls to aspire to. And I think the other thing we're really looking forward to would be to get an inter pros going for the Northwest Warriors girls, and that's at under 17 and under 19. And hopefully that's not too far away to really test ourselves and give our girls something to aim for. But I think as well, on the club side of things, the emerging program, the pathway that's been set up, Gary Wilson's going to come in there and he'll see what talents in the Northwest and opportunities for that emerging group of players to come through. And I think that'll be an exciting time for Northwest cricket.
Fantastic. Sounds a very exciting future. And finally, those involved in social media always aspire to get something viral, go on social media. And a lot of people may not know that you've actually gone truly globally viral with something you took. The Junior McBride slips catch was your handiwork, I believe.
Yeah, I'll always try to put a camera up behind the bowler's arm for all the first team matches, and we do video analysis with some of the guys, and they like to see themselves bat and bowl and dismissals, etc. So that's something we've always been keen on. It's something I brought from other sports to show the guys. So the camera was running on that day. I think it was a senior cup match, and Imran Butt was bowling, Scott Campbell batting, and Junior was at slip. So the first ball come down, and Junior's probably renowned for one of the best fielders in the Northwest, and always has been. And it was a regulation slip catch, and he shelled it, got 2 hands on it and put it down, and he ended up he picked the ball up, threw it down. The bowler was on his hands and knees, so the ball goes straight back to him, and next ball, Soupy inside edge, and Junior took off in his wrong hand as well. That's what was even better about it. Took off and grasped it about an inch from the grass. So it sort of showed what cricket's all about. It can change so much in the space of 2 balls. So I stuck it up on social media, and it started getting shared and went through Twitter. Cricket District got it and shared it again, and then it ended up Cricket Australia got hold of it. I went viral then because we ended up with over 2.5 million views And then this year, just coming out of the lockdown again, Piers Morgan seemed to find it somewhere. I think Cricket District shared it again, and Piers Morgan put it in Good Morning Britain, and just put it out one morning just to give people a bit of a laugh, and that there's better times ahead. So as I say, Scott Campbell hates seeing it because he's around the world so many times getting out, and everybody's seeing him getting out. And some of the comments were hilarious. They said it looks like a guy that bats number 11, whatever. He's one of our opening batters, one of our best batters in the club in the Northwest. So quite a bit of stick for that. And as well, the other thing would have been Gareth's takeaway, because Gareth's Godfrey's would be our main sponsor at the club, and his sign has always been in the background. So I always said we were great for promotion and getting Gareth over 2 million views on for marketing. Unfortunately, there's only 2 Gareth's takeaway chip shops, and they're both in Coleraine. So Gareth hasn't maybe done as well out of it as he should have. So I should have been charging 10p a view, Craig. I've been a millionaire now. So.
Great story, and I'm sure everyone listening to that will have undoubtedly seen that clip. It's fantastic. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for sharing your story about Coleraine and your role there in the Northwest, Stephen.
Okay, Craig, thanks very much, and all the best to everybody for the season.
And we look forward to seeing further progress. Okay, farewell.
Thank you. Bye-bye.